underdog. I've been through it all.
What's good, you guys? Welcome back to For the Underdogs podcast. It's been a while since we've been in studio, so I'm really excited today. It feels good to be back. And today I have my man Ryan Cook in the building, which I'm super glad to have here. I'm excited to talk to him. It's not too many times that, you cross paths with people and you have so much in common. And for me, that's been the case with Ryan. Ryan's a former MLB player. He played, how many years did you play, Ryan?
15 years total
15 years, that's a long time.
Playing, but 6 years I got in the big leagues.
Nice. 6 years in the big leagues. My man's an All-Star. He's been an All-Star in 2012?
2012.
2012. So I did a little research on you.
Yeah, look at you.
And I found out you played football.
Football?
Did you play football?
No. There's another Ryan Cook that played for the Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
I think he's an offensive lineman.
You didn't play in your younger years?
No. I mean, high school.
High school. It was high school. Then.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. But yeah, man, I'm super excited to talk to him because, like I said, so much in common from, professional career. Even though I played football, he played baseball. Just the way we had to get it, I found out that this man's a grinder just like how I was, and I appreciate that. And then just in family lives and personal lives as well, so many parallels. So I want to welcome Ryan Cook.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. I think, you talk about having everything in common. That's the first thing that came to my mind as well. This whole relationship came to fruition at the dance studio, right? For our daughters.
Yeah, Girl Dad. Shout out to Girl Dad as well.
And so we, my wife, Lindsay, was sitting there talking to Janae, your wife, and, they get to rapping, and then the next thing you know, she's like, this chick's really cool. Yeah. Found out her husband played in the NFL, yada, yada, yada. Seems like, based on her conversation with me, you guys would really hit it off. And so here we are, right? And so, from the moment I met you, I was like, there's just something parallel.
Yeah, and it was crazy because it felt like we were destined to meet because we ran into each other at the park without even communicating we were going to be at the park, and just hit it off from there. Had a really good conversation. Something that stuck out for me was, you had asked me how the transition was post-career. And, I think I said something like, it was all right. And you're like, tell me the truth.
Yep.
And I was like, it was tough.
Yep.
And we hit it off about that because I didn't know, a lot of baseball players go through that as well. I'm thinking it's majority football players because of the nature of our business. And that was something that stuck out to me is you had a lot of similar experiences with me through transitioning through baseball to where you are now.
Correct.
Can you talk about what that was like for you?
Yeah, man. I mean, let's be real, right? And that was the first thing I said to you. I remember that distinctively. You were like, it was all right, and I'm like, no, tell me the truth. Because it's something that I see all too often. It's something that I'm really passionate about, actually, helping guys not experience what I did or what a lot of other guys just naturally experience. And you lose. It's a loss of identity, obviously.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said to you while I was playing that I identify as a baseball player, right? From a stature standpoint or an ego standpoint. But the truth is, you do anything, whatever it is, for that amount of time, it becomes part of your DNA.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, having that, I made the decision to walk away.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was like, I'm doing what, one, is right for my body, two, what is right for my family, and three, what is right for me. But the fallout from that was way deeper than I ever could imagine.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to do with my days, and everyone sits there and tells you, you can do anything. Yeah. I'm like, sure, but this job description that I'm reading here, I don't know anything about Salesforce. I don't know anything about all these computer things, and how in the heck am I going to be able to do that? Yeah. So it becomes daunting, right? And then your psyche starts to shift, and you go down this, well, what can I do? What should I do? rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're like, who am I?
Yeah. It's interesting because likewise, when I was playing, I didn't realize that I was becoming just a football player at that time, you know? And I thought, you know, you hear all these stories about guys transitioning, hey man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I thought when I got out of it, I would be fine. and it hits you like a train.
To the choir, man.
Oh man, it hits you like a train because I even tell younger guys who I still talk to that are playing, like, the NFL is not real life right now. When you get out of the NFL, when those meals stop being handed to you, when those travel plans stop being, you know, created for you, and you're told to be here at this time and that time, it's different whether, you know, you enjoyed that piece of it or not. Being out of it creates like this, you're in just this open space of like, what do I do now?
Yep.
And it's so hard for guys to get past that. So I try to I'm passionate about it as well. And I think with this platform, I've kind of birthed around for the underdogs, for me, is like helping people that don't have that blueprint. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to help them so that they don't go through the same thing I went through, of the identity loss and struggling to find what makes you happy, you know, at the same time, being a family man, being a husband, being a father, like all those things start to kind of weigh on you at a certain time. And it's difficult for a lot of guys.
It's extremely difficult. And I, you know, honestly, Lindsay, my wife, was like, you need to do something about that. Everyone you talk to, everyone you talk about has the same experience post-career.
Yeah.
And much like you said in the beginning here, to be truthful, I was thinking it was a baseball problem.
Yeah.
Like it was a baseball problem. You know, it was something the MLB was doing wrong and not helping guys transition. But through our conversations, through other guys that I've run into in other sports, like you said, it's an industry problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
It's a professional athlete thing that it needs to be addressed, in my opinion, because there's so many guys that go down the wrong path, you know, and
I'm one of them, and I can say that confidently. You know, I kept eating and drinking the same way that we did when we're playing, and not having 6 hours to 8 hours a day grinding on your body. And the next thing you know, I'm drinking way too frequently. I'm drinking way too much, you know, and to be truthful, like, you know, it came to a head where I was like, your family's leaving or you figure it out, you know?
What did that realization feel like? 'Cause tough.
That's, for me in my life, that is rock bottom.
Yeah.
Like, to have that conversation that's like, if you don't figure it out, we are gone, was like,
I got chills, bro.
Yeah, like there's nothing that can replace, to me, and you know how I am with my daughter.
Yeah.
And like, my daughter and my wife are everything to me, and I wasn't showing that. I was so caught up in my own head, so caught up in what should I do to help, because we as men want to be able to provide a life for that family that we love and cherish so much. That is the same as when we were playing, right? But when you get out, it's like, how can I do that? How can I achieve that? So you get caught up in this mental hamster wheel, and you're just running on your own, you know, like looking for other people to help you, and there's nobody there to help you.
What was that internal dialogue? I'm big on internal dialogue. Like, I think that one of the things, well, I know for a fact, one of the things I struggled with when I took a couple hits in my confidence while playing was like my internal dialogue, like trying to overcome that piece. What was that like for you, just in your personal life?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for me, I had to find the source.
Yeah,
the source of why I was feeling the way I was and speaking to myself the way I was, right, which was negative.
Yeah,
and you know, through therapy, we got to a point where,
therapy.
Yeah, man, and it was finally like, look, I'd lost my father in 19, retired in 20, baby right after that, moved from Arizona out to California, all of these big life changes, like boom, 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 down the line, one after another, right? And I did therapy then after I lost my dad. I'm thinking that's the only issue that's going on in my life is like struggling with the loss, and the grief that comes with that. But I was never able to let the therapist in, right? Like we're able to fake it as athletes in front of so many people all of the time that we can kind of control those conversations
for sure,
and like let, the conversation only get as deep as we want it to, and so it wasn't until that whole situation transpired and I just went to my therapist and said, look, like I need help. Like truthfully, like I need help. And it was, obviously something that I had to figure out on my own. And I had to get to that point to ask for that help. But then through diving into that deeper and deeper and deeper, it was like, I was looking for love from my wife to replace the game, the fans that would show love, the family members that would show love, the friends that would show love.
And nobody talks about how that changes when you're done playing, even from a family, friend, standpoint, like the people that you think are there because of you, the person Ryan Cook, it actually changes when you are done playing. And noticing that being in your position, it's kind of like disheartening or it's another blow to your confidence,
right? 100%. And it's, I surrounded myself with really good people. But the dynamic changes. And that's just the truth. Whether you like it or you don't, that's just the truth.
For sure.
Right? Personally, we're able to provide for them to enjoy this experience with us. And what that looks like for every athlete is different. But for me, it was tickets. It was experiences. It was like, let's go out and like, let's have a night where it's like, I got it. Don't worry about it. And then part of that identity shift is you not feeling that same about yourself to then still have those relationships as well, right? So it's not necessarily all the time that it's them that's the problem or viewing us in a different light. It's us too.
Us changing as well.
Like we're going through a change.
For sure.
And so there's that component as well.
Did you have any of those, we're talking about us changing, and I think we've had this conversation. I'm just asking for the fan purpose of, the podcast. Did you have any of those moments while playing where you had to address your internal dialogue? Because I know I did, and we've spoken about it, where there comes a time where there's a mental gymnastics that you have to overcome while playing. And I think your story is super interesting, how we talked about if you had just did what you normally did. Can you share that?
It's a tough pill to swallow. Truthfully, I mean, and we talked, that was that last weekend. We were talking about that
the farmers market.
Dude, I don't know if it was until in that moment that, like I knew that I probably shouldn't have left my original trainer in hindsight, right? I didn't know it at the time. Like I did what I thought I was doing right. So a little bit of backstory there is like, I had a personal trainer that I went to back home, and Jamil and I talked about this, but, he at the time I thought he's just my personal trainer, but what I didn't realize was how deep it went. I didn't realize how he was able to build this athletic ego inside of me that made me know going into spring training that nobody was more prepared. Nobody was stronger. Nobody was faster. Nobody was more explosive. All of these things. But because he didn't have accreditation in the baseball world, it was like, okay, I had my success with him through him. And then my usage went up. right? Like I all of a sudden was getting used as a rookie, 71 appearances, 70 appearances, 69 appearances. And, you got the team in your ear telling you, hey, we need to watch, the way in which you're working out, your flexibility, your mobility, the FMS testing, all of these things. You're a little deficient here, a little deficient there.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like, okay, great. Like, that's all good information. Like I need to use that to better myself. And in my head, we're making the right decision to get better and address weaknesses that could potentially lead to gains on the field.
Mm-hmm.
When realistically, we got a little bit away from what got us there.
Yeah. And the old saying is, never stop doing what got you there.
Right.
Like stick to that. If you're an athlete, stick to your process and what got you there. And we shared that same experience because I felt like within the same, you start doing all these tests that show you your imbalances and all these things. And now you're not lifting as hard. You're not running as hard. Mm-hmm. You're doing flexibility things, which I think is good to a certain extent. But like I said, I was somebody that had to outwork and had to outlift and had to be better conditioned than the next man to get it.
Because like we talked about last weekend, that was your edge.
Yes.
That was your edge.
Yeah.
And that was mine. You know what I mean? I knew that when I took the mound in whatever situation and I had the ball in my hand, I didn't even think. I didn't even think about the scouting report. I didn't think about anything because it was like, I'm going to fucking beat you. I don't know if we can cuss on this, but I did.
We're good. We're good. We're
good. Anyway, I'm going to fucking win this battle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sure, the book might say that you hit fastballs in this location really well. Like you haven't seen my fastball.
Wow.
Like was the idea.
Yeah, you
right?
gotta play me.
Yeah, let's play the game. Let's line them up and let's see who wins. Mano y mano, right? And as time went on and the more you're around the league, you start looking at more scouting reports. You start looking at tendencies and like this guy got a runner on third, less than 2 outs. This guy swings at 69% of first pitch pitch swing.
Yeah.
So like in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, now I'm trying to dance around this data, which is valuable, very, very valuable. But how you use it to the individual, all of these different things affect the outcome.
It takes you away from your game.
Right. And so now I'm on the mound, and instead of having those thoughts of like, let's do this, me versus you, it's a boxing match. Now I'm thinking, okay, cool. Let me execute this. I get a little fine. I miss. It puts me in a bad spot. Things start to happen. And then like the mental gymnastics come in of like, oh man, too late. You know what I mean? Like where'd that go?
Yeah.
But I think that all starts with the off-season training like we talked about, right? Like that's where I lost my edge.
Yeah.
And then it turned into trying to replace that edge with data, information. Well, I got better in my flexibility scores, right? All of those things. So, and to be truthful, like I don't think I ever got that back.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm sitting in this chair today and not still playing. Right?
Did you notice it in the moment? Like when you're going through that year, like, man, I don't have my edge.
2015 was a brutal year for me. I went into camp nowhere near in the shape I was. It was the first season in which I didn't work out with my trainer, and it all started. I'm getting hit around in spring training. The team's like we're gonna, in their opinion, we're gonna help you by taking you. Like we're gonna send you to AAA. Like get back, get right.
Yeah.
And then like let's go. And like that was a blow.
Yeah.
To self, that was a blow to my ego, but I knew I wasn't there, And then so it's like everyone's trying to help you, all the different pitching coaches, everyone in the organization's like, hey, I see this little bit here. I see this, like, let's look at video on this. When realistically, it didn't matter at all. It was all mental. Right here. Yeah. Right. And so, I mean, then I pretty much just, did my best, if you will, for 2015. And it was like, just get out.
Yeah.
Like, please just get out
Yeah.
because like, I'm not going to get you out this year.
And it's a shitty feeling when like, you know that your best isn't cutting it.
Yep.
Or your best isn't the same as what it used to be. Like, that's a shitty feeling. I've been in that position before. What was the year like? I already stated that you were All-Star in 2012. From a mindset standpoint, from a feel standpoint, what did that year feel like? Because I think when we do have those good years, a lot of times we don't reflect on what exactly that year felt like. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of reflecting on it. And, you know, I don't know that I can put my finger on exactly what it was.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, but I can tell you this. I didn't know any better. I was a rookie. I had a catcher, Kurt Suzuki, who I fully trusted. He was just that guy who was able to speak and work with his pitching staff. That was, in a way, for me as a rookie, he was like, just throw what I call. Like, don't even think about shaking me. Like, I know these hitters. I know all of them. Every hitter you're gonna face, like, I know them through and through. So I'm gonna put the fingers down and you just throw. Like, just go out there and do it. And I remember hitting a point in, like, I don't know if it was, you know, June or July, right? All-Star games in July. I remember hitting a point in June, let's call it, and he sits me down in the clubhouse and he's like, hey, man, I was looking at the reports. Like, you've thrown 2 changeups this year.
Yeah.
He's like, we're not throwing another one. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, dude, your changeup's really good. But, like, let's not show anybody your changeup. And then he's like, just keep working on it in the bullpen, keep working it on the side. Like, but we're going to go as long into this season as we can without throwing a changeup again. And when I call it, it's because we need it. Yeah. Right. And we have that as a surprise at these moments. Yeah. But when it comes to, like, so we ended up using it in like September that year. It was pretty funny. But I wasn't thinking when I was out there performing, just playing, just trusting my body. I knew it was just straight up a battle of, you know, it was about the team. It wasn't about me. Then, you know, you string together that year, you string together 13, you string together 14, and people start getting into your ear. Teammates start getting into your ear, like, dude, you're gonna break the bank in arbitration for a middle reliever, you know, late inning reliever. And next thing you know, like, those thoughts creep into your head as well. And then it becomes like that slightest bit about you instead of what was my job to get the ball to the next guy. Not give up any runs for the team. Instead, now I'm on the mound like, dude, if I can string together, you know, 6 zeros here, that's going to make my ERA this. Or, like, if I can get 2 punch outs an inning here, and that's going to get me this many punch outs, that's going to lead to X amount of dollars in arbitration. And so no matter who you are, when you start hearing other people say that stuff on your team who have gone through it, experienced it, these veteran guys who have already gotten paid, it starts to creep in. For sure. You know, that was like the very first thing that started to creep in for me on the mental edge side. And then it kind of just snowballs from there, right? Yeah. I mean, and that's not to say, like, hey, look, I'm sitting here talking about, like, I lost my edge, like, all this stuff. Sure. Like, I was still a good pitcher, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But, like, at the same time, I do think, like, those couple things are big difference makers.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to, like I said, your experience to me, I can resonate so much because the best year I had, you talk about your catcher who you just trusted completely. The best year I had was when I was playing with the Titans. I told everybody this story. I started from 4th on the depth chart going into training camp, battled my ass off to starting that year. And it was because of Ben Jones, my center. And he literally told me exactly what was coming every play. Hey, do this. I got you. Like, hey, just trust in your ability. Yeah. And it goes a long way when you have somebody like that is speaking that confidence and that you can just trust. And so that resonates so much.
And he's right there with you.
Man, he's right there with me. And it was about, like, I literally felt like I am the guy. When I'm playing next to Ben, I'm the guy.
Right.
And one of my biggest things is like, I wish I had took that mentality to everywhere that I played. I kind of let that situation be like, this is as good as it's going to get, you know? And I wish I took that mentality everywhere.
Yeah. Do you think that you were a little dependent on that?
I wouldn't say I was dependent on it, but I was comfortable next to him. And I knew that if he's telling me something, it's going to happen, or there's a chance it's going to happen. And so I can play off of that. And then the times where I was playing and he wasn't in there was almost this like second guessing, you know, where I'm a smart guy. Trust what you've studied all week.
Right.
Trust the scheme, whatever, like just go out and play. And I let that, this is not a shot at Ben because I love Ben. He's my guy, but I just got comfortable playing next to him. And when I wasn't the same player. And I think everyone knew that from the top down, you know?
And that's continuity that everyone talks about in the football world, right? When it comes to offensive lines, and the way in which they play together, and having that, you know, how many starts does that whole line have together? For sure. It's interesting, man. Yeah. It's interesting, right? Like iron sharpens iron, if you will, right? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. What was you talked about you pitching. What is it like pitching in a game that's high stakes? You know, the environment is rocking. Like, I feel like those moments don't get talked about enough. You hear guys talk about the NBA finals and the Super Bowls and the things like that. Like, what is that moment like when you're pitching in a game and everything's on the line?
Yeah, look, I do. I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but I do think it's different. Yeah. It's different
in what way?
Because you're the guy with the ball in your hand, right? Like you control everything in those moments. Now, what mental state are you in? Right? Because I've done it in those big situations in a great mental space. Yeah. And I can tell you what that's like. Yeah. And I can also tell you I've had the ball in situations where that self-doubt's there. And
I want to know both.
And you're like, holy shit. Yeah. Like look around right now.
Yeah.
You know, don't look around, but look around.
Yeah. Tell me the story of the self-doubt. I want to know that before we get to
the self-doubt one, you know, is I was in Game 5 of the ALDS in 2000. This was 2012. This was my rookie year. This was my All-Star year.
Yeah.
And we were, you know, against the Tigers, and I get thrown into the game. I had pitched the last 5 games of the season, 5 days in a row to get us there. We had to get into the playoffs, earn our way in. At the very last game of the season, we beat the Texas Rangers in game 162 to win the division, and then we roll into the playoffs, and we got the Tigers, and the Tigers are stacked, man. They got all the dudes. Yeah. You know, we're scrappy. Oakland, that was like our year. We put us on the map.
Yeah.
And we were like, that's who we were. We were just this scrappy team that was like, we had rolled in, swept the Yankees, like had this incredible run.
What makes a baseball team scrappy from a
it's no names or fewer names. Yeah. And then how you win, right? Like we weren't going out and winning 6-0 every night. Like run ball games. We just found a way to win every night. Yeah. Like the next thing you know, you're down 2 in the 8th, and it's just this feeling on the team that's like, we're gonna win tonight. But that. How? Yeah. How is it gonna happen? Like who's gonna be the guy that it hits the sacrifice fly that gets us tied up, and then who's gonna be the guy that hits the walk-off tonight? Because we already knew that year in the bullpen, like we weren't giving up any more runs. Yeah. Like it's over. So if you guys can just scrap 1 or 2 right here, we're going to win this game. Yeah. And so it was just like, you know, like guy hits a double, we bunt him over to third instead of, you know, double homer. Like that would be like not scrappy. But just the little things of like guy steals the base. We bunt him over. We do like the little things, and the next thing you know, it's like, holy crap, we were down 3. We just scrapped 1 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, and now we got a shot in the ninth.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Those kinds of ways. But I remember standing on the mound in Game 5, and coming into relief. I believe it was Jared Parker that year, and I had to throw, like I said, the 5 games to end the season, and then I ended up pitching in 4 of the 5 playoff games, and so I was just done. Like my body was shot, and I remember in that moment being like, I'm out of magic. Like, I don't know right now if my arm's gonna fall off or if, like, but yet here we are, and like we gotta win. We're already down, and the feeling of the game was a little gloomy, and like didn't quite have the same feel, right? And so, sure enough, you get barrel, and a guy, second baseman, like jumps in, like just misses it. It's like, oh shoot. That was it. I needed to get that guy out.
Yeah.
Because now I got Miguel Cabrera coming up, you know, and to get Miguel Cabrera 0-2 and hit him on a fastball. And I'm like, that's it. That's it, right? Like, I had only 2 hitters of confidence, and now I'm like out there like sucking wind, like in my thoughts, trying to fake it. Right.
And not showing it. I feel like that is one of the, like when I watch baseball, being able to, because the camera's on the pitcher,
right?
You know, and you can't really show that you're going through that mental process, because now it's,
I mean, that's
a thing.
It's just like in football, you have things and traits that are trained into you, like from the very beginning. That's one thing in baseball that is preached,
really,
like from high school, let's call it.
Don't show it.
You know, like I was told one time by a coach, Dan Carlson. Dan is still coaching. Dan, I think he had like, don't quote me on this, but something like 30 years in the Diamondbacks organization. Wow. And he just switched over to the Giants organization this offseason. But he was really instrumental in my development as a pitcher. He was, when I signed my first pro contract and went to the minor leagues, he was the first pitching coach that I had.
Okay.
And he told me to think of pitching, like he was the first person to tell me, like, it's a boxing match, right? And every hitter is around, you know, and like you can get knocked down, but are you going to get back up? And what kind of mentality you're going to have when you get knocked down? Like, I ain't getting knocked down again.
Yeah.
Right. But so then he's like, as soon as you show any sort of vulnerability, the hitter in the on deck circle, they smell blood in the water. Like they're sharks. And it's like, they all talk. They're like, look, we got him. Like the second you hang your head, the second you do something at mannerisms wise that isn't like when you're doing well, like they see that. And so, you know, that stuff gets ironed into you, you know, so many times and spoken to you so many times that it's like, just becomes part of it. And if you can't do it, you don't advance. Like you don't go to the next level.
For sure.
And that's part of the game. Right. But so, I mean, being able to hide it and fake it is everything.
And it doesn't, I don't feel like it serves you well post career. You know,
full circle.
Yeah, full circle.
Full circle.
You know, the things that we get ingrained into us as professional athletes, like once you're done, like you said, you have that surface level almost, you know, and breaking through that takes a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you can fake it in front of that, in that situation. You can fake it anything. Ask my friends, ask my family, everyone but my wife. Ask everyone but my wife. And they would probably tell you that I handled retirement pretty well.
Yeah.
You know? But the one who sees it every day and like knows you through and through.
For sure.
Like they know the truth.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's real. So tell me what the other side of that is when you're on the mound and you're confident and you truly know that you got this shit and nobody can mess with you.
Yeah, I mean, that same season, that same stakes, same season, let's call it 10 days prior to that experience, is game 162 against the Rangers. And little bit of quick backstory. Grant Balfour was our closer that year. I was our closer for a minute, but Grant regained the closing role and ran with it, and he was our guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember being in Minnesota, and it was either, I want to say it was the first series after the All-Star break.
Mm.
And we beat them in a game that was like 16 or 18-2, something like that. And, we still got half the season left. Yeah. And Grant looks at us all in the bullpen and he goes, bro, if we keep playing like this, we're going to clinch the division on the last game of the year against the Rangers. And we're like, funny. Like, dude, I don't even remember how many games back we were at that point, but a lot.
Yeah.
And the team starts playing well, keeps rolling. And so here we are. And this is game 160 against the Rangers.
Which is crazy. 160 games.
We got 2 left. So we clinch a playoff spot, a wild card spot. And the whole thing was like, do we party?
Yeah.
Do we celebrate this with 2 games still left with the ability to still win the division? And we're like, hell yeah. Like, we're all young kids in the for Oakland at the time. And it was like, let's just enjoy this because this is cool, that we've come this far. And Johnny Gomes, one of our other leaders, he was like, yeah, we're celebrating this shit. We're celebrating tomorrow, and we're celebrating game 162 when we beat their asses.
Oh, shit.
But so we did. So we celebrated, went nuts for the fans in Oakland. Game 161, beat them, and now it's game 162. All of us in the bullpen had just been absolutely used and abused to get us to this point. And we wouldn't have it any other way because it was so awesome.
Yeah.
But I remember Kurt Young, our pitching coach, and Bob Melvin, our manager, coming out during our pregame throwing routine and all of that. And they're like, Cookie, to me, Doolittle and Balf, and they're like, we can't use you guys today. Like, we're like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, we're going out there. And they give us a hug and they're like, thank you. Like, we'll use you if we have to. We'll try to stay away from you. And then I remember being in the clubhouse after that, before the game started, and going up to Grant Balfour, our leader in the bullpen, and saying like, dude, I can't pitch. Like, there's no way I can pitch today. And he's like, you will. Don't worry. You will. You'll be there. And I'm like, my arm might fall off. Like, I might break.
Yeah.
And game rolls around. Josh Hamilton drops a fly ball in center field. We go up. The place is 50,000 strong in Oakland. Like, going bananas.
I love that.
Absolute bananas. And the Oakland fans are nuts.
For
dude.
sure.
Like, the real true Oakland fans, when that year, it was crazy. And so I remember looking at Grant going, hey, Cookie. And I look over at him in the bullpen, and he's like, you feel that? And I still get chills thinking about it. That's how you pitch today, off of that. And I was like, all right, let's go. Figure it out, kid. We got to go.
Yeah.
So 7th inning rolls around. I can't remember if it was the 7th or the 8th. I tended to throw either one of those just based on matchups, but get out there. It's a 1-run game. And I just remember having the ball in my hand, and it didn't matter what was called. Everyone in the building knew that I was going to dominate.
Yeah.
And so I remember Kurt Suzuki calling fastball, setting up down the middle. I'm like, what is happening here? Fuck it. Let it rip. As hard as I can. Fastball down the middle, strike 1. Fastball down the middle, strike 2. Swing and miss. Fastball down the middle, strike 3. And it was it didn't matter what pitch was thrown, where it was thrown, anything. we were just so aggressive. We were so on the attack that like, that's what it felt like, right? Like I look at games now when I watch like the World Series and different things like that, and it's like the aggressor wins.
Yeah.
Whether that aggressor is the hitter or whether that aggressor is the pitcher, the aggressor wins.
Yeah, I had an experience like that in 2019 when I was with the Titans, and that was when Derrick Henry rushed for the 2,000 yards, and it was literally like we would line up and people knew we were running the ball and nobody could do anything about it.
Right? Isn't that a wild concept?
Oh, man, it's the most. It's one of the best feelings you can have on a team is like, hey, we're running it left.
Yeah.
And then we run it left. And
you can tell them.
Yeah.
You can tell them, hey, look.
Yeah.
Joe Blow, like, we're running right at you right here.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
And you can't do anything about it. I mean, they're putting 8 guys in the box,
right?
And we're still gashing people.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those dopest feelings that you'll ever have.
Yeah. You can't explain it. And it's just so unique.
Yeah.
But it's a really interesting phenomenon because what's the other side of the mentals like, right? Like,
yeah,
like I want to know, I played with Nelson Cruz later, but like his at bat in that game stands out to me so much because again, like it's not like I was throwing 105 miles an hour that was unhittable. It was like 94, 95. Like I was gassed. I had nothing in the tank. My velocity wasn't like 100.
Yeah.
It's like 94, 95, right down the middle, right? Like pitches that he usually can hammer.
Yeah.
But in that situation, in those situations, like being on the other side of the fence, like I wonder what he was feeling. You know, he probably knew fastball was coming. Like I wasn't tricking anybody.
Yeah.
It was coming right at you, you know?
But didn't hit it.
But he couldn't hit it.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's the exact same scenario.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're saying, like, we're going to run this ball left and we're going to run this ball right and we're going to run this ball left and we're going to run this ball right.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's the best feeling ever. I think, all these experiences that we've had, we're lucky enough to be able to reflect back on them in this light, and not have obviously it takes time before you can get to that point, but not have that like, just that regret or that, that just that attitude that we're stuck in that mode.
Yeah.
And so I'm lucky that we're able to reflect on that. And I think that it has propelled you into this next portion of your life.
Yeah.
And I just want you to talk about what exactly you're passionate about at this point in life. Cause we had a conversation a couple weeks ago over at your house, and you gave me some good perspective as to that chase that, as athletes, we get addicted to, feeling that we're progressing towards something and working towards something. And that gave me some good, kind of insight on how to approach this next phase of my life. So I want you to kind of talk about what you're passionate about and how your mindset is now.
Yeah. So for me, man, I mean, I think, we sat down in the very first part of this conversation, we talked about, a little bit of stuff about what I'm passionate about, and that's helping other athletes not experience what we talked about in the depths of retirement, of what I experienced. But then also, now in this next chapter for me, like when I retired, I ended up getting into the tech sales world in San Mateo, and it taught me so many things, and it was so valuable for me to learn the world of sales in general and how to prospect and do all of these things and build a plan and go achieve it and have an actual foundation of sales. But then now recently starting on this new gig with Mavericks Sports Housing is really cool for me, being able to help other athletes find and secure their housing for their in-season needs. It goes much deeper than that, obviously.
Yeah.
But that being said, like that's what I'm doing now, and that's been really, really great for me.
Yeah. What type of satisfaction does it bring you? Because I, as well as you, played for a bunch of different teams.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like to have to pick up and move and go to different places, sign a lease when you don't know if you're going to be there. So what type of satisfaction does that bring you now?
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? I mean, everyone's situation is different. So if you're a guy like me, towards the end of my career, it was like, I don't know if I should sign a year lease here or a 6-month lease here.
Yeah.
I might get released, quickly, traded, all these different things that happen. So that's like the beauty of what we're able to do. And instead of having that be thrown on my wife, right? Like she's got her own things going on that she's dealing with during the season and helping the family. Like housing doesn't need to be what she's dealing with too on top of it.
It's tough on the wives for sure.
Yeah. And so like we get traded, we get released, like we're on a jet to the next city. If it's a trade, like she'll have to pick up the pieces. It's like, no, man, like we need somebody that comes in here and actually cares about us and can help this. Yeah. Right. So that's what we do now. Whether it's a month-to-month lease, if that's what you need, if you're that guy, or if like you got a rock solid situation and you want to sign that full 6-month lease, like we can help you with that as well. But being able to get you a home, right? Like a place that feels like home is really important. It's Absolutely. Like, okay, cool. Like I got this apartment over here. Like it's all right. Yeah. Like it's scrapped together some furniture and whatever. And it's like, but like you need to have a place for you to be able to perform on the field. Yeah. Like you got to have a place that's your sanctuary at home too.
That matters a lot.
Right. And so being able to help guys with that, is really important to me. And then also on the post-career side, being able to help them, with my network, right? Like guys like you expanding this network and being like, hey, you want to jump into medical device sales? Cool. I got a guy. Yeah. Like you should shadow him for a couple weeks, a month, see if that's actually what you really want to do. And if you want to become a doctor, great. I got a doctor over here. Like just using examples, but like anything that you want to get into next, like I'd like to create a network that can handle that, to be a guys reach out to me. Hey man, like I'm struggling and I need some help. Yeah. That's really what I want to be able to do.
That's awesome, man. That says a lot about you. And like I said, I'm super appreciative of this new connection, this new relationship that we've built, because like I said, there's so many, it was just meant to happen. Yeah. And I feel like I've gotten so much knowledge from you in the short amount of time that we've spent together. And I obviously know there's much more to build upon, but I think that when you do run into people like this, you have to value that relationship. So I'm grateful for you for sure.
And that's one thing, I think we talked about this on the first time that we, at the park actually, when we, ran into each other on accident. But I think there needs to be more collaboration between sports.
It does.
We're all going through the same thing. We all have those exact same demons, those exact same celebrations too, right? Like the highs are the same, the lows are the same, all the battles are the same, and I think like leaning on one another is really important. Yeah. And so, if I can help you, if I can help, the basketball guys, same thing. Like we all live in this community in Arizona where there's so many of us around. Yeah. And it's like, I think I told you, like I only kick it with baseball guys. Right. But then like, why? Yeah. Yeah. It's like, then I meet you and it's like, oh dude, we got the same thing going on. Like the exact same things happening in our lives. Like, for sure. We both have a daughters who are the same age. Both of our wives are pregnant around the same month. Like it's really crazy. Right. And so being able to lean into that and then help each other in ventures, right? Like whatever it is that you want to do next, like we can help each other. Like we all have networks that coincide, and then expand each other's network. For sure. I think that's really what life's about. Yeah. And being able to build that community, and being able to, build that network to be able to help as much as we can help others.
Yeah.
And in turn, it helps yourself, right?
Absolutely.
But ultimately, I think when the focus is about helping others, that's when we're really doing what we're meant to be here for.
Man, that's a great mindset to have. Like I said, I'm appreciative, super appreciative of you. I appreciate you coming and shooting with me. It's been great. We've been talking about it for a little bit. And so I'm happy that you were able to pull up. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Dude, loved it. Yeah. Absolutely loved it. We'll do it again.
Yeah.
Like we can have another one of these with a whole different tone, a whole different, sure. All kinds of stuff. We could talk football in terms of what's happening now.
Yeah, because you got a great football mind too. That's something that I've learned. You know the game pretty well.
A little bit. I mean, enough. I know sports, right? Enough to be able to at least come up with my own thoughts on like what I think the 49ers should do.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. But I love sports and I love mingling with guys who know more. Like I love hearing your stories about what's going on in the actual locker room of the football world, because I know what a baseball clubhouse is like, but I don't know what a locker room's like, right? So
now we definitely got to shoot some more. We should do a series and kind of bridge that NFL MLB gap, bridge it and bring it together.
For sure.
That would be cool. Well, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate you guys listening to this episode of For the Underdogs podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, tag me when you listen to it, all those good things, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, for the underdogs, I'm an underdog. I've been through it all. I can never